In 1962, a widow in Tuscaloosa fed 4 kids on $11 a week, and she never once ran out of supper. The meal she leaned on hardest, the one she made most weeks without fail, is number 3 on this list. She was doing what a lot of grandparents did, long before meal planning was a phrase anyone used, turning almost nothing into a meal that kept a family alive, week after week, decade after decade. One of these meals was invented out of habit by a retired steelworker in Youngstown, who ate it alone every single morning, for 30 years at a cost of 4 cents a bowl. That one's coming up at number 7. These are 10 forgotten poor man meals, born out of real scarcity, not trend. The kind of meals that may be part of why so many grandparents lived long, hard, healthy lives well past what anyone expected. If you've ever eaten alone and told yourself it didn't count as a real meal, this list is for you too. Hit that subscribe button. Let's count down the 10 forgotten poor man meals that kept grandparents alive. 10. Wild game, stew before sunrise. A man in the Appalachian Hills would head for the tree line before anyone else in the house was up, because store-bought beef ran 28 cents a pound in the 1930s. More cash than most families in that hollow saw in a week. What he came back with was usually rabbit or squirrel, sometimes venison if the day went well, and whatever he had went into a pot with wild onions, a few carrots if the garden had them, water, and salt. It got browned first, then left to simmer low for hours, until even the toughest cuts gave up and went tender, filling the cabin with the smell of wood smoke and patience. It wasn't dinner so much as it was a family's whole grocery budget, walking on 4 legs through the woods. 9. Biscuits and gravy in the Carolina mill towns. Breakfast often got eaten standing up because the whistle didn't wait for anyone. Mill workers built theirs around flour, lard, buttermilk, sausage drippings, and black pepper. A dough cut fast and light-handed, baked hot, then buried under a gravy made from nothing more than drippings, flour, and milk. Lard ran 9 cents a pound in 1955 and stretched right. That 9 cents could turn into a meal heavy enough to carry a body through 12 hours on the floor. It was peppery and rich and sat on you like a hand on the shoulder on a cold morning. A breakfast built for work that didn't care whether you were hungry. 8. Homemade jam and jelly August in the South meant heat, and heat meant canning season, whether a grandmother wanted it to be or not. Whatever fruit grew wild or in the yard went into a pot with sugar, sometimes a lemon cooked down slow until it thickened, then sealed hot into jars built to outlast the season. A bushel of peaches ran 75 cents in 1948, and that single bushel had to become an entire winter's worth of something sweet, canned jar by jar in the worst heat of the year. Opened months later, it tasted like the exact week it was picked. Sweet, a little sharp, gone by February and mist clear until June. Every jar on that shelf was a woman betting on a winter she hadn't reached yet. 7. Cornmeal mush. This is the one we mentioned at the start. The meal that retired steelworker in Youngstown ate alone every morning for 30 years in a kitchen that used to be full. Cornmeal, water, and salt, sometimes a spoon of bacon grease, whisked into boiling water low and slow until it thickened, then eaten hot or sliced and fried the next day. In 1978, it cost him 4 cents a bowl, cornmeal being cheap even in years when almost nothing else was. And that cheapness kept whole generations fed through winters when the bank was closed and the pantry was thin. It's plain and warm and a little sweet from the corn itself, food that asks nothing of the person eating it. Mush was never glamorous, it was just there, every single morning when nothing else was certain. 6. Fried farm chicken. A live chicken was worth more walking around a yard laying eggs than it ever was in a pan, which is exactly why eating one meant something. When a family did kill and clean a bird, usually on a Sunday, usually by hand, it got cut into pieces, dredged plain in flour, salt, and pepper, and fried slow in lard until the crust turned dark gold and the meat underneath stayed juicy. A live bird sold for 40 cents at market in 1940, more than most families would spend on meat any other day of the week, so eating one meant something had run out or something was being celebrated. It cracked when you bit into it, and the smell filled the house for hours after the pan had gone cold. Fried chicken on a Sunday was a way of saying the week had been survived. 5. Garden vegetable soup. Monday in a lot of rural Georgia kitchens meant one thing. Whatever was left from Sunday went straight into a pot. Tomatoes, okra, corn, beans, greens, onion, and a soup bone if there was one simmered together until the vegetables gave up their shape and the broth turned rich and dark. A soup bone cost a dime at the butcher in 1945, and a woman who bought one knew she was buying 2 meals, not one. It smelled like a whole garden boiled down into a single bowl, earthy and warm, never quite the same twice. Nothing that went into that pot was wasted, and nothing that came out of it was either. 4. Fresh-churned buttermilk. Poverty food took time, because time was the one thing a farm family usually had in surplus. And time is exactly what turned one cow into 2 different foods. Cream went into a churn or a jar and got worked steadily until it split into butter on one side and a thin, tangy liquid on the other. A gallon of store milk cost 28 cents in 1938, more than most farm families would ever spend on milk when a cow in the yard gave it away for free. So farm wives churned every single morning before the men left for the fields. What came out was sour and cool and a little thick, sharper than anything sold in a carton today. One animal worked right, feeding a family 2 different ways. 3. Homemade cottage cheese. On a back porch in the Mississippi Delta, a sharecropper's wife kept a bucket going that most people today would pour straight down the drain. Milk gone slightly sour, a little salt, sometimes a splash of vinegar to help it along, sat out warm until it separated into curds and whey, then got drained through cloth and pressed lightly by hand. Milk that had turned wasn't worth a cent at market, so rather than lose it, she turned it into something her family could eat. Soft, a little tangy, cool on a hot afternoon, nothing like what comes in a tub today. It was a small daily refusal to let anything go to waste, even bad luck. 2. Slow-cooked greens with ham hock. The ham hock was the part of the hog nobody with money wanted, which is exactly why it cost only 6 cents at the butcher counter in 1952. It got simmered on its own first to give up its flavor. Then collards or turnip greens went in with onion, water, vinegar, and red pepper flakes, and the whole pot cooked low for hours until the greens turned tender. Black families across the rural South built entire Sundays around that one cheap cut, the kitchen smelling smoky and rich for a whole afternoon, sharp with vinegar underneath. What other people threw away, a family at that table turned into something they were proud to serve. 1. Beans and cornbread. This is the widow from Tuscaloosa we mentioned at the start, the one who fed 4 kids on $11 a week and never once ran out of supper. Dried beans soaked overnight, then simmered for hours with a bit of pork if there was any to spare. Cornmeal, buttermilk, and an egg went into a cast iron skillet with bacon grease and baked hot until the edges turned dark. A bag of navy beans cost 69 cents in 1970, and that single bag fed a family of 6 for 3 straight nights, on the weeks when the check hadn't come yet, and pride wouldn't let anyone say so out loud. It smelled like a whole house on a Sunday, tasted earthy and rich, with a crust that cracked under a fork. Beans and cornbread didn't just feed a family. It meant they'd made it through one more week together at the same table. Pick one of these, just one, and make it this week. Sit at the table, not the couch. Set a place, even if it's only for you. Eat it slow. Tell me in the comments, was it the beans and cornbread or the greens with ham hock that your own grandparents made? These meals were never about being cheap. They were about dignity.